Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Kira Woods and this is your weekly intuitive tarot reading for November the 17th to the 23rd. I'm going to pull 3 cards here and let's have a look and see what your week is going to hold. So I've got the 6 of Swords, the 5 of Wands and the 8 of Pentacles. So we've got air, fire and earth all coming into this week. So let me just make sure this is in view for you. Just move these up. Okay, so this is sort of like the beginning of the week, middle and end of the week, but really it's also a combination of the energy of all three and how they will pan out in terms of energy and situations that you will experience. Okay, so what do you see? Something jump out at you? Do you feel suddenly inspired or in tune with any aspect of these 3 cards? Can't quite get these in view very well for you. How about that? That's a bit better, I think. Okay. The 6 of Swords. Okay, so when I look at this, I think, alright, so it's telling us that work is done. So it's about air. It's about our mental processes. So I'm sort of thinking around, it's around, do you have some thought patterns that maybe need to be let go of? Do you have some new thinking that needs to come in, and to do that you need to adjust how you've been thinking about something already? Could be a current situation that you're involved in. And it's really about acknowledging that something about the way you've been looking at the situation, thinking about it, processing it, analyzing it, is really done and dusted, and it's time to look at a new way of approaching the situation. So it's around that transition. This card is definitely that movement of thought, and it's a really good thing for us to all remember, because often we get stressed and caught up in our mental anxiety because we get stuck in the way we're analyzing or thinking about a particular situation. So this card is encouraging you to move on from the way you're thinking, because there is a new way to look at the situation. There's something new on the horizon that will really have some positive outcome for you. It could be around some sort of outward expansion that'll come from that. It also could involve that maybe you'll get to do some travel. So it's around all those processes as well, as whether it's mental travel, internal travel, but also it could be around, this card could also indicate that maybe some physical travel is on the horizon. For those of you who maybe have a situation where you're not feeling too well, or you've been having some surgery or something like that, be mindful that maybe to do your homework. Maybe there's another way to look at how you might approach how you've been feeling, or your illness, or your situation. You maybe get a second opinion, that sort of thing, or even just look at how you're thinking about the upcoming activity that you've engaged in. If you are thinking of making a hard and fast decision, this card is probably indicating that maybe it's depending on where you're coming from. If you're making a decision from the old way of looking at it, or from the previous analysis, you've been hashing out the old situation over and over, perhaps postpone that decision, because there really needs to be a mental shift first to get the most success in your outcome. Very much around sort of those old values and beliefs need to be let go of, particularly if they're not serving you anymore. So really be mindful of that. That's really what this card is saying, that there are times in our lives where we really need to let go of our old values and beliefs, that they no longer serve us. And if we do that little bit of work, we will find that we can really move forward into something that will benefit us a lot better. Alright, so as the week moves on, so we're looking at, sort of Wednesday, sort of late Tuesday, Wednesday, early Thursday type thing. That energy of the 6 of Swords is carried over now into the 5 of Wands. And I often think about, look at this card, and I think it's that sort of, that can be internal, external sort of battle or squabble that can go on. And when I think about that, I think, okay, so often if we make a mental shift in our life, we look at something differently, we approach something from a very new perspective, that can create either some internal little bit of feeling a bit uncomfortable around other situations in our life and or with other people. But this is a card that's sort of saying that that natural sort of to and fro starts to occur. The 5 is around change and choice. So although we might feel at cross purposes with ourselves or perhaps in another situation, that's not necessarily a problem for us. it could be that we're beginning to, that mental shift has made us realize that we're wearing maybe too many hats, and it's diffusing our passion and our energy and the things that are really important to us. So it's about encouraging us to really look at what's important. It's around whether it be in the group situation, a project you're working on, or whether your own internal processes. Be really mindful about what is the really key thing that you find important. What is your important agenda in this situation? The cross purpose could just be that now your clarity around your agenda, having sort of gone through those mental processes of letting go the old way of thinking, may now be at cross purposes with someone else who's still hanging on to their agenda or the agenda that the group previously had. And so this is part of, in groups, it's part of the process of how we evolve. It's part of project management, that evolution of how we need to sort of go through that process period. So it can be very important and also very uplifting. I always think of this one a little bit like, you've got that meeting to go to, and it's one of those meetings you go to maybe once a month, and you really kind of think, oh, I really don't want to go into that. It's always the same people are there, and I only hear the same information. It doesn't really serve me, and I've got, 20 other things I need to be doing, and I'm just way too busy, and you think, oh, maybe I'll skip that meeting. It's around stopping and saying, okay, what would be the really key thing for going to that meeting? Is there a key speaker that you've always wanted to really hear? Have you noticed that on the agenda there is an item that is actually very important to you and your project and your business? Look at it from that perspective and know that although you will still perhaps be a little bit frustrated with some of the other elements of the meeting, you're going for that key reason, and that is your primary goal and objective. And that is really important, that you have that clarity around that, because something new and exceptional will come from that. You may be quite surprised that you'll have an experience that you weren't anticipating. As we move into the week, you've got the 8 of Pentacles. Okay, so this is around when we being diligent and paying attention, that attention to detail. If you're the kind of person who's embarking on a project of working on your own, this is a wonderful card for that. It's saying, that sort of independent motivation and self-motivation will be there. And those around you will be very encouraging around you getting on and doing it. But it's a card that's letting you know that it's important that you do pay attention to the details, that you be diligent, that you really show professionalism, because there is an expectation from others around you that is what you're going to do, that you're really going to be focused on this. So if you're wearing multiple hats and you've realized that, this card is telling you, okay, find out what's important for you, and maybe it's important to prioritize, because you really are going to, later in the week, be wanting to really putting your attention into the thing that you have made commitments to. This could also be involving things like assets, so you could be rearranging your assets, or getting your finances in order. It could be that you're wanting to put some structural limits around assets or your engagement in sort of how you engage in the world, so your work-related area. But you're very much going to be extremely productive. You're going to work really hard. And you're going to find that others are going to really, really appreciate that. So that positivity around working independently, this is great if you're an artist or a contractor, or if you're working on a project and you've got a piece that you need to complete. It's very positive for that. If you're working in communication, it's around that you will be really focused and dedicated around income. It's great if you're still trying to do your taxes, or if you are working on sort of budgeting and finances, something of that nature. If it's a relationship kind of thing, situation you're involved in, this card will let you know that it's a really great time to have really focus on the relationship and looking at the importance of in a relationship, that each individual has their own, plus the relationship is sort of like another part that needs focus and attention and work. If you're feeling a little bit under the weather, I think you'll find that putting a little bit of emphasis on your own self-care and being aware of what's important to you and how you feel is the right way to proceed with something will really pay off for you. Because really in this card it's saying any form, whatever area or situation you're working on, it's the attention to detail and doing quality is really important, and having that sort of self-motivation and independent focus. So that's sort of how I see the week panning out. I hope you have a wonderful week. If you'd like to catch up with me, you can find me on my website at kirawoods.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Kira Woods Tarot, and I have a Facebook page. Please come and like my Facebook page and write me some comments. Tell me what's going on with you, and you can find me at Kira Woods Gold Coast. For those of you who have subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. I'm totally delighted to have you on board. For those of you who haven't, I would be thoroughly delighted if you would. Also, please share this video with your friends and family, and I hope you have a fantastic week.